Today I'm going to show you how to get this really amazing armor called the Evil Spirit set. Also an easier method to get one of the coolest looking weapons in Tears of the Kingdom, so let's get started. Now to grab this armor you need to complete 3 labyrinths in 3 different spots on the map, including the one up north right next to the Tabantha snowfields, the Lomey Island Labyrinth on the top right corner of the map just across the Akkala region, and finally the one in the south close to the Gerudo Desert. Each one of these has a maze that you need to go through on the ground level. This will open up a labyrinth up in the sky with 4 terminals that you need to activate, which finally open up a flux construct boss fight below before you get each of the armor pieces. So it's going to get a decent amount of time and also some good upgrades to get this, and that is why I suggest coming in prepared with some cold resistance food, maybe some stamina potions too, and a few zonite devices like fans and rockets. So let's get started with the one up north that you can easily walk up to from the nearby snowfield stables or by using the Skyview Tower. Here you're going to want to take the path ahead and just follow the trail of pine cones that you can see on the ground, which will guide you to your destination. So I'll take it to the right and then immediately left until we see this other resting camp onto the side. From here we'll go to the right and just go to the path on the left again until we reach this gap in the wall. You'll want to use Ascend here, so go ahead and cast it to reach the area on top of the maze. There's one final bit here that you have to complete, just follow up this pillar to jump across to the next. Quickly pull out the glider or use the stairs to reach the top of this wall. And from here you'll want to just follow this path up to the next set of stairs until you see this bigger room with a shrine inside of it. And this is essentially where you'll want to go in and activate the North Lomei Chasm using this terminal right in front of the shrine, which will also be needed as we'll skydive through this as we finish the labyrinth floating above. Also fully recommending to activate the shrine here too, it's a nice fast travel point, plus you also get another diamond from inside. From this point it's time to go to the labyrinth above, so you'll want to head over to the Stonegrove Skyview Tower and just launch from it. What you're looking for here is to land on these islands and grab the zonite stuff to reach the floating cube. So I'm going to aim for this first island with the launch pad on, and I'm going to then turn that and use it to reach to the other one right next to it. On this one you're going to find a fan as well as one of these floating platforms that we can use to reach the floating labyrinth. Or if you came prepared like me, you can just craft a quick hover bike and pretty much do the same. Once at the destination, activate the circle again and this will open up the maze, plus a quick side mission to show the 4 terminals that you need to reach and solve it. Now this might look complex, but in reality it's a lot simpler actually, as you'll just want to reach exactly in the 3 corners of it, as well as one final in the middle. The gist of it is that you'll want to look for the darker brown spots on the maze map, as these are platforms you can go underneath or on top to jump into the next area. That's why the first area I'll keep it to the right side, and even if I screw a few things up, I just continuously look at the map how to navigate to that corner. And whenever you feel like you're about to fall or just got lost, you can fast travel to the start and take it from the main path again. The final one is in the middle, so to reach it you'll have to actually go onto the opposite side of it, around it, until you see this opening. You will need to have some air here, so just do a quick skydive and then let the winds carry you up using the glider to have enough height to reach the final terminal. And once you open this, you'll now also open up a wind gust that brings you all the way to the top of this cube where a final terminal awaits. So go ahead, activate that, and once you complete it, you will now have a full-on path all the way to the depths below that you'll want to skydive through up until you reach this region with the boss encounter and the item. Now I will admit my setup was a bit overkill for this boss, especially if you have something like a 3 or a 5 burst shot bow to use explosives, but the fight is essentially an aim check. You have to hit the glowing cube that actually holds the boss heart and not the rest that make up his body. So luckily, if you jump from the platform, which you can pretty much do through the entire fight, you can do the slow time and more easily just attack that. But once it's done, activate one last circle and grab the evil spirit greaves from the treasure that appears from beneath. The second maze will be north of the Akala Tech Lab, and you can simply jump down and activate the shrine in the area to have a quick fast travel point to it. From this point on, you will actually want to take this cave behind us to reach the labyrinth, so just follow my steps. We're going to head down this path and just take it to the right side, ignoring all the enemies inside. At one point, there's gonna be this junction, but we're actually going to take the path to the left, which brings us a bit upwards up until we see this rock spitting like. You might want to be careful at the boulders coming from behind, but otherwise just make it in the room down with the big Hinox. Ignore it and go past it in the final room, where you will be able to use Ascend on this exposed wall to reach the area above. I suggest taking the chest in the middle, since this gives you a large battery, which might come in useful for the next section. But from the treasure, you'll want to go right to this pillar on the right side, which is the closest to the ground, and again use Ascend on it to reach the maze above. And from this point on, you'll just want to reach that stacked number of trees on the far right side of the screen. Either swim there directly or use the platforms on the side. Either of these work just fine. From here, you'll want to take it to the right, go past this metal box, and again follow the path of pine cones in front of you. You cannot miss it, and at the end of the path, you will climb one time at the very top of the stairs and once again activate both the circle and the shrine in the area. Now, once activated, it's time to go for the labyrinth above us, and the Ulri Mountain Skyview Tower is your best option for that. Now, this is going to be a pretty long glide to the island just below the floating cube, which is why I recommended at the start to have a few stamina potions or stamina foods to reach it. In any case, once there, you will find a flying device and plenty of batteries around, plus the large one I recommended you to get from the chest below, which should be more than enough to reach that area. Now, for the labyrinth, the trick here is to pay attention to the gaps to the next areas that are usually below you, so you actually need to skydive real quick through these gaps to reach the other sides. Also, for the top sides, to reach them, you need to go through the center path over this wall and then take these paths on the right and the left, which is how you will reach those otherwise inaccessible areas and grab the remaining devices. But once done, it's the same as before. Go at the top, activate it, dive through it in the depths, defeat the boss, and then take the next piece, which is going to be the Evil Spirit Armor. Now, the last maze is all the way down south, easily reachable from the nearby Skyview Tower in the Gerudo Canyon. Since the maze is below us, we can just float directly to the left side, right here at the top of these two parallel pillars between these two square sections. From here, drop directly down and onto the path beneath this wall that is otherwise hiding it. Simply keep it to the left and drop all the way down into this final room to activate the device as well as the shrine. And once that's done, you will use the Gerudo Canyon Tower again to reach the final labyrinth up in the sky. Luckily, the island closest to it is also close to the tower, so it's an easy fast trip to it. On it, you're going to find a launch pad as well as enough fans and rockets to power up this gliding wing and head to the nearby cube. So combine them and make your way over there. If, however, you have low battery charges, you can simply eat some zonite charges to regen the batteries and get there fast. The secret to this one is that most of the paths for these terminals are accessible from the middle point of the labyrinth, and then you can use the darker brown and gray area so that you can go on to the other sections in between them to reach the terminals. Otherwise, the maze is exactly the same as the others, and the final reward is going to be the chest piece. And this is how the full armor set looks like, certainly one of the most mean looking armors in Tears of the Kingdom. It makes me wish we had transmog in this game, but I guess this is the next best thing. Now, this armor already comes max upgraded, so you cannot do any more upgrades on top at any of the fairies, but it does give you some nice bonuses. One is a bonus disguise so that stealths like the skeleton enemies do not attack you, plus it buffs your damage with bone weapons. So it's gonna be even more worth it to slap some of those like bony arms to your weapons and also deal more damage with them. Now, if you also want to couple this with an amazing looking weapon, you can do so with the Scythe. I've seen a lot of you guys asking me in previous videos, so here are some of the best locations to find them in. So to get these, you actually need to hunt silver Lizalfos enemies and grab their horns, which come with this very interesting color, and once you attach them to weapons, it kinda makes them look like scythes. But to get the silver Lizalfos enemies in the first place, you actually need to defeat a lot of Lizalfos enemies up until you increase the tiers of the ones that start spawning. So it's just like in Breath of the Wild, as you defeat more and more enemies of the same type, eventually higher tier variants start spawning, like the black, blue, and eventually the silver. So 5 Lizalfos enemies you can find right here at the Hyrule Castle. There's gonna be 3 on the left side outside of the castle in the floating islands. Basically, you can defeat them right around these towers, but there's also around 2 inside of the garrison if you want to go there. You can also find a lot frozen ones in the Tabantha snowfields, exactly the same location we used for one of the money farms. And there's also 3 always spawning right next to the Gerudo Canyon Skyview Tower, depending on the time of day, so it could be either the fiery or the frost ones. Also, lots spawn in the depths region, especially in the camps just around the abandoned central mine right here on this side of the map. But my favorite spot is right here southeast of Akala, in this spiral where you also got to finish and get the last tier for the Master Sword side quest. So there are 3 of these silver variants that spawn in this area, but they get carried by these flying enemies, so you do have to make them spot you, shoot them down, and then defeat them. Before you do that, I recommend also scanning them, and if you have the Sensor Plus, you can eventually just set up a scanner so that whenever you're close to one, you get the alert for it. And with the silver horns, you can now attach them to dual-handed weapons to transform them in this awesome looking scythe. Is it practical? Hell no. Is it the highest damage? Also no. But does it look the coolest? Absolutely yes. And that's pretty much it with the items. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.